Warm greetings to all. Today, we are present here for a lecture on the shifting paradigms of archaeological researches organized by the Institute for Oriental Study, Thane. On this occasion, I, Siddhi Pawar, would like to welcome our respected guest speaker, Assistant Professor at the Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology in Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, Dr. Nisha Sawant, Madam. I would also like to welcome a friend, philosopher and guide of the Institute, respected Dr. Shivendra Kadgaonkar, sir. I would also like to welcome Barse, sir, and Vice Principal Subhash Shinde, sir. I request the dignitaries to please be seated. The Institute for Oriental Study is a 40 years old voluntary organization working for the promotion of Indian culture. To achieve its objectives, the Institute has been conducting conferences, workshops, exhibitions, film shows, as well as educational tours with great enthusiasm. The Institute also has a small museum with around 900 different artifacts and 600 coins of different eras. Our research library also has an enormous collection of around 80,000 books and 3,500 manuscripts. Now, I would like to ask the Vice Principal of our college, Subhash Shinde, sir, to please felicitate our guest, Dr. Nisha Sawant, Madam. I would like to ask Ankur Kane, sir, to felicitate the Vice Principal of our college, Mr. Subhash Shinde, sir. I ask Ankur Kane, sir, to also felicitate Narayan Barse, sir. Now, I request the Vice Principal of our college, Mr. Subhash Shinde, sir, to please guide us and give us his blessings.
Today's research person, Dr. Nisha Sawant, Madam. Then various dignitaries in the audience, our librarian, and my friend, philosopher and guide, Narayan Barse, sir. Our Dr. Jayashree Singh, Madam, from the Department of Hindi, and also in charge of the Research and Ethical Committee in our college. The architect of Vidya Prasarak Mandal, Bhole sir, who also happens to be a student of our diploma in archaeology. And my dear students, my colleague from the department, Ankur Kane, and all other students, I welcome you all in this program, which is jointly organized by Institute for Oriental Study, Thane, and the Department of History, Joshi Bedekar Autonomous College, Thane. Students, archaeology is a very interesting subject. Okay, archaeology is very useful for historians particularly. Okay, most of you are history students. I can see, I can recognize your faces. You're from TY and SY classes. Okay, so archaeology is very important for historians because as far as history is concerned, history is written on the basis of the documents. But when documents are not available, archaeology comes in picture, and it fills the vacuum, we can say. And that is why if you want to be a historian, you have to study archaeology. Okay? At least you try to understand the science of archaeology, and you will come to know the wonders from the past. Okay? Because archaeology studies the remains of the past. Okay? Means the remains of the monuments, cities, or whatever things were constructed by our ancestors. Those are discovered by digging the earth in simple language. And whatever artifacts are found, okay, it might be coins, or it might be inscriptions, it might be monuments, okay, those things are studied. And that study takes lots of time. Okay, now we know about Indus Valley civilization, so many things. Okay, but the archaeologists have really worked very hard in order to decode that civilization on the basis of the remains of the monuments and the cities which were found, okay, originally in Sindh and later on in many parts of our part of India. Before 1947, Sindh was also part of India when for the first time Mohenjo-daro and Harappa sites were discovered. Okay, but unfortunately today at present it is in Pakistan. So it has taken lots of time for the archaeologists and historians, okay, to study properly the remains of those great cities of Indus Valley civilization. And that is why today we know what was Indus Valley civilization. Except one thing, we are not able to decode or decipher the Indus script. Okay, but the day when it will be deciphered, okay, we will come to know many more wonders about that civilization. So archaeology is very, very important for the history as a discipline, we can say. So today's lecture will definitely benefit you from this particular point of view, because Dr. Nisha Sawant madam is expert on this particular subject. Okay, her specializations are ancient India and archaeology. Uh, and remember, students, we organize such type of quality programs for you in our college. Due to the vision, guidance, support, and blessings of our beloved chairman of Vidya Prasarak Mandal, Dr. Vijay Bedekar sir. Okay, he wanted to come to this particular program, okay, because he also likes the discipline of history and archaeology. Actually, he's a great scholar in different areas, okay, but he loves history and archaeology greatly. But due to one important program at his house, he couldn't make to this particular program. But his blessings are always with us. Okay, so we should thank Dr. Vijay Bedekar sir for organizing such programs. Like you, I was also the student of this particular college, and I remember, okay, since 93, 94, when Dr. Bedekar sir used to call the scholars from national and international level. Okay, once he had called one marine archaeologist from Israel, okay, and Sir Rao, na, a marine archaeologist who discovered Dwarka. Okay, he was also called, and I remember that particular seminar. Okay, the theme of that seminar was on Dwarka. Okay, the remains of the city of Dwarka. Okay, which is mentioned in Mahabharata. Okay, which is considered as the city of Lord Krishna. On that particular theme, the conference was organized, and many such conferences, okay, are organized due to the vision and guidance of Dr. Vijay Bedekar sir. So we must rather thank Dr. Bedekar sir, and please listen to such lectures very carefully. Okay? Ask the questions, whatever questions you get in your mind, you can ask madam. There are some other experts also who are available, okay, for you today. And try to make career in this area. Right? Okay? It is interesting, it is good to study, okay, that is okay, but try to be the archaeologists. Okay? Amongst us, we have got one amateur archaeologist, Ankur Kane, okay, your sir. Okay? Every vacation might be Diwali or summer vacation. Okay, he visits various archaeological sites. Okay, he collects many artifacts from different parts of the country, from different parts of the state. So please be in touch with him, take guidance, and you can go to Deccan College, okay, and you can do your diploma or full-fledged degree in archaeology. So with these words, I should stop, I think, because I should not take much of your time. Okay? As our tradition, we have started in time, and we should give maximum time to our today's speaker, Dr. Nisha Sawant madam. So once again, I welcome all of you, and I congratulate Ankur Kane sir for taking the lead on behalf of Institute of Oriental Study Thane, Institute for Oriental Study Thane, and Joshi Bedekar College History Department for organizing this wonderful program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable guidance. I would also like to welcome Dr. Veena Mushrif, madam. I request Ankur Kane, sir, to felicitate Dr. Veena Mushrif, madam. Archaeologists may be tempted to explain that when paradigms change, the world itself changes with them. Shifts in paradigms emphasize on changes in minds of people with time and the changes that occur in research methods due to them. Dr. Nisha Sawant Madam has been working as an assistant professor at the Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute since 2009. Her specialization is ethnoarchaeology, archaeological theories and methods, industrial archaeology, urban archaeology, and heritage management. Now, I would like to request Dr. Nisha Sawant Madam to take over. I would once again like to request Ankur Kane sir to please felicitate Dr. Shivendra Kargaonkar sir.
Very good morning to all of you. Looking at youngsters, I would like to have this lecture a little informal. Okay? So, I'm very used to teach a little older crowd than you. So, I'll make this lecture as simple as possible, though the topics is a bit complicated. But we'll start with a very small example. ठीक है? खूब बहुत छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल के साथ शुरू कर देते हैं. When you are in your college, reached early in the morning to the class and feel very hungry. At that particular moment, you come up with the two important questions. What will be there in a canteen? First. Second, okay, what will I have when I'll reach at home? So two questions, and your mind starts working. Oh, mommy must have bought methi yesterday night, or aloo yesterday night, or some non-vegetarian. You start building your own variables. And finally, you reach to your conclusion. So research is a day-to-day life act. That is what I believe. But if questions are so simple, then methodologies are equally simple, then what is paradigm shift? Paradigm shift is changing nature of question. How you change your nature of question, that automatically change your structure of methods and methodology. So today's my lecture is highly focusing on how in last 200 years the world of archaeological researches has shifted. So it is in connection with, firstly, how a question has changed, then how approach to look at material culture has changed, and lastly, how as a researcher and academician, we moved from multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and lastly, transdisciplinary. That will be structure of, or rather aim of my lecture. Okay, these are the, I have periodized my lecture into tentatively 6 categories. Period after 1995, where I would like to summarize my lecture, how and what we are in present conditions, what is archaeological research, or to large extent academic disciplines of humanities and sciences look for archaeology. Okay, so that will be a summary. The rest 5 will be giving a brief narratives and understandings of the period. To start with, what is archaeology? I have tried to accommodate as many as words and the concept which today we understand in connection with understanding any context of the past. So archaeology simply aim to study, explain, interpret, understand, and today's world constructionism and deconstructionism, okay, human past life ways, culture, society with the help of material culture. That's simply archaeology can talk about. So all together, whatever aim we have, maybe constructionism, deconstructionism, maybe culture, society, organization, institutions, but all together, the main focus henceforth remain material culture. So your primary data will be your material culture. Historical records, documents, textual references are considered as the supporting evidences in archaeology. Next slide, please. So what is material culture? In simple word, what is material culture? Anything and everything which are directly or indirectly in association with human being is material culture. So my specs is a material culture, my dupatta is material culture, a chair occupied by you is material culture, carpet is material culture. So these everything which are directly or indirectly are in touch with human beings are material culture. So tentatively, next slide. This is what we encounter on archaeological explorations, excavations, surveys, and whatever. Next. Some structures, splints. These are the megaliths. That's the rampart from Kolhapur. That's a very recent picture of the remains of Dholavira. That's the picture of Mansar. Taking liberty from Veena. Human skeletal is not my forte, but just taking liberty from her, I can display some of the pictures of the human skull, human remains. Okay. So ecofacts, artifacts, spleens, structures, sculptures, everything which are in human associations of the past is a material culture of archaeological understandings or studies. Now, it's not never been happened that we have suddenly encountered this material culture. No. It is there with us since ages. So what must be a research or the scholars must have seen to these material culture? Okay. So up to 1830s, largely in the world of archaeology, we called it as a period of antiquarianism, period of treasure hunting, which is still continued if I'm not wrong. Okay. So, apologies if I have been offensive. Okay. So treasure hunting, antiquarianism, it's nothing but the period where every single individual, scholar, were engaged to collect these evidences and store them. Now store as a private museum, institutional museum, but store them and portray them as the legacy or the pride of for the past culture. Legacy or the pride of the past culture. If this antiquarianism period wasn't there, we will not able to have the nationalism all over the world. Whatever the nationalism today we have went through, it's because of the contribution of the antiquarianism. So whenever you are studying nationalist thinker, not from just Indian context, from context of the throughout the world, it's the contribution of the antiquarian period. So it's a storage period. At the same time, what attracts the human being is the most beautiful artifacts, most massive artifacts, which is really rare or precious material. That's remain the center of attraction. So smaller artifacts, less beautiful, been never a concern of any research to that matter, and therefore this period is dominated in research by the descriptive record. Where it's been found, whom it is, whom this discovered, apart from this, the research has been never moved ahead. Next slide. Okay. But the change brought up after 18th century CE onwards. You must be aware of. World already seen a major revolutions after 18th century. That's of industrialization, development of a science and technology and so. And it certainly have been kept a massive impact on archaeology also. This is the same time period when there is a discourse on ideographic and nomothetic sciences. For today's class, just remember these words, not necessarily to understand these controversies just now, but you just kept it in your record. Whenever you get a time, read those ideographic nomothetic controversy. What today we are suffering with, or rather we are moving ahead with the transdisciplinary, it is nothing but the controversy between ideographic and nomothetic sciences. So this period, as well as during this time period itself, our very renowned scientist Charles Darwin and his team come up with the evolution theory. And certainly these all revolutionary approaches benefited the research in archaeology. Next slide, please. Now what happened? Before moving to this slide, I would like to go to the next slide. That's the contribution of C.J. Thompson. Up to this period, in the sense up to 1830s period, though people were giving the descriptive record, but yet unable to establish the chronological sequence of these records, which is an essential period in human history. किसका पास सबसे पुराना है, कौन सबसे बड़ा है, ये तो कंट्रोवर्सी सदियों पुरानी है, तो ये इस टाइम पे भी था. But scientifically, how to establish it is very difficult. It was C.J. Thompson who established 3H system systematically and scientifically. अगर C.J. Thompson नहीं होते, तो शायद we would not able to have a separate discipline called archaeology. It was his contribution to the world of archaeology that the discipline of archaeology got separated from the umbrella of anthropology. Excuse me. So C.J. Thompson adopted 3 different disciplines to establish his 3H system. That's statistics, quantitative analysis. Statistics ka quantitative analysis he did it. Ethnography from the discipline of anthropology, and biology, theory of evolution. That's to understand technology from simple to complex. For me, this is for the very first time systematically applied multidisciplinary approach in archaeology. And henceforth, chronology can be justified with research was established by C.J. Thompson. Go back to the previous slide. That's why this stage is prominently known as a culture history stage. Everybody is engaged to establish chronology between the artifacts, sites. At the same time, people are now moved little bit away from the descriptive records. Now, descriptive records are not sufficient enough. Material culture are studied from the perspective to understand any site, to understand any artifacts, and at a very little efforts to understand and establish its context. Change. So for me, C.J. Thompson created a major paradigm shift in the world of archaeological research. So contribution of this discipline, beginning of the multidisciplinary approach, okay? For the very first time, trained archaeologists and anthropologists engaged their interest in archaeological researches. Till this period, it was a forte, or rather it was an interest of amateur historians. After 1930 CE onwards to 1960, the world was also in transition. I hope you all are a history student and must be aware of World War I, II, the whole world, how they were chaotic. Similar chaos we do come across in archaeology. So I call this is a period of transition. It's okay. It's a period of transition. Here there is a very strong debate whether we should call social sciences are sciences or not. Are they following scientific research or not? This debate was taking hold of every corner of social sciences. ठीक है? मतलब take it geography, take it economics, take it. By the time economic anthropologists, this discipline was already becoming popular enough in the world. Yet, are they making any law-like statement or not? These controversies was very prominent during this time. And at the same time, we have scholars in archaeology like Gordon Willey. Then it was anthropologists like Leakey. These people were troubling enough to make archaeology more scientific. Now, what is scientific? What is scientific discipline? A scientific discipline basically gives a statement for universal application. Universal application. Now, how can a material culture, which we come across in fragments, without any strong context, without any readable material, how can we establish them from the scientific perspective? That's the major question. And everybody was struggling hard enough to solve these queries. At the same time, concept of culture was redefining. What is culture? Culture has a system, culture has a pattern, and material culture is one of the representative of that whole culture. Now my specs is a representative of my culture. Okay? Mike is a representative of my culture. So that's been now understood. Suddenly, to look at the approach to material culture has changed. Material culture now understood as a representation. Consider as the representation. So it's 1960s to 80s. I think if this period wasn't there in archaeological researches or in history, we wouldn't have seen this platform. Whole credit gives to Lewis Binford, Papworth, Schiffer, and they have immensely contributed to make archaeology as a very strong scientific discipline. Lewis Binford, through his article, Archaeology as Anthropology, justified that yes, archaeology has a scientific discipline. Material culture is such a tangible element of the past that we can study, we can look to establish a generalized statement. Generalized statement. Though it may have exceptions, it may have limitations, but yes, we can talk to the larger mass. That was given by Lewis Binford. And henceforth, after 1960s onwards, archaeology has seen a very different picture from the rest of the disciplines, that it's become scientific. Material culture now changed the approach to look at the material culture, that was adaptive. Why? Because questions of the research has changed. Questions to the research has changed. People, scholars were engaged to, instead of understanding, engaged to explain causal relation. Various theoretical developments we have, decline theory, must be heard about Harappan decline theory, this theory. Then you must be hearing about the evolution theory, are the outcome of this period. So material culture has been studied from the perspective of adaptive, functionality, migration, these elements been incorporated. So element of a trade, element of process have been studied through this period. Now culture changes from, must be seen stratigraphy. And we talk about this is medieval, this is early medieval, this is that. Okay? So you have seen stratigraphy. And we have checked out that in every stratigraphic layer, material cultures changes. But the soil just shows few centimeters of the difference, or sometimes of difference. How to justify it? How to justify it? So that's the process of change. That's the process of change. And that process of change needed to study in detail. So during this time period, research has massively changed. From multidisciplinary, it's become interdisciplinary research. Now, the rest of the disciplines were just not contributing, but they are taking active role. For example, your archaeozoology, paleoanthropology, paleontology, palynology, these disciplines, what we have seen today, are the outcome of this period. This is interdisciplinary two disciplines come together from one single discipline and they work together. They try to explain the past material culture either by using aid of the different methods and methodology. So it is an era of regional approach. Now, tiny, significant, specific elements, artifacts are not important. Context of that artifact is important. What binds that artifact to be there is important. So it's regional approach. It's become problem-oriented. Without hypothesis, research cannot be continued. That's the contribution of scientific methodology. So altogether, 1960s period in the world of archaeological research is considered as a major paradigm shift. Now, it will be great. We are explaining, we are describing what else is left out. What else we can work with the artifacts, with material culture. To interpret. Is it justified just to give a descriptive record, to explain the existence of the artifact? No. It is essential to interpret. It is essential to understand the perspective of every single scholar. Because material culture are just not meant for the disciplines of sciences, but it is an evidences of culture. It is an evidences of human societies, and societies cannot be so objective. It is subjective in nature. Okay? For example, in case of temples, for example, in case of architects, sculptures, ये सारे कुछ सिर्फ functions की वजह से नहीं है. They're just not adaptive, but they're also an evidences of style. They are also evidences of fashion. They are evidences of human cognition and rationality. So after 1980s onwards, this period is dominant for interpretative archaeology. Now, if you have seen in previous slide, 1960s talk about the scientific method, problem-oriented research, building of hypothesis, and gradually it is understood in archaeology material culture cannot be so one-to-one understandable. It has to understand in the context. How to study context. How to study context. So it's a middle range research theory. Here, several such social sciences, disciplines of humanities now contributed in the archaeology. अभी तक देखा था archaeozoology चल रहा है, paleontology चल रहा है, palynology चल रहा है. But apart from ethnography and anthropology, none the other disciplines of social sciences are contributing in archaeology. Though archaeology is very much connected with human being. So what is the significance of the present human being in archaeology? Present disciplines of social sciences and archaeology, that is justified by the 1980s period. So this is another major shift in archaeological research. Henceforth, the archaeological research gradually transmitted to be as a transdisciplinary research. Problems are now just not remained bind to any subject disciplines, just not with archaeozoology, just not with paleoanthropology, but we continue with the larger problems like site formation processes, problems of discard methodology, problems of behavioral archaeology. So that has now brought a major change. Here in this period, a major concentration was provided to re-understand context of artifacts. The artifacts I recovered in present context as an archaeologist and an artifact thrown or left out by the past people in their context is totally two different things. It's a two polar parts. I hope I am able to convey this idea. Okay? Now, I'm using this mic to speak to you, to become little audible enough for you. This is purpose in the present context. Maybe after 10 years, this mic will be just a museum piece, as in a depiction of the early 21st century. Probably more than that, it may not have any other importance. So difference, these 24 years has changed major positional change in this mic. That's been noted by the archaeologists. So research moved to understand context of the artifacts, to look at the material culture from both in the present context and in the past context. That's the theory of systemic to dynamic context. That's the story of systemic to dynamic context. It highly addresses the issues of human cognition, human rationale, human behavior. Okay? So disciplines like psychology, disciplines like sociology, middle range research theory. If anybody is here from the sociology, they must be aware of Robert K. Merton. He introduces the middle range research theory in sociology, and later archaeologists have adopted this theory and established two important disciplines. One is experimental archaeology, that's a contribution of middle range research theory. Second is site formation process, and give a more validity to the disciplines of ethnoarchaeology. अगर सोशोलॉजी नहीं होता तो शायद गार्बेज आर्कियोलॉजी, बिहेवियरल आर्कियोलॉजी, रैडिकल बिहेवियरल आर्कियोलॉजी के डिसिप्लिन्स हो ही नहीं सकते थे. दैट्स ऑल बिकॉज ऑफ सोशोलॉजी. सो सी हाउ ग्रेजुअली other disciplines of humanities are contributed in archaeology. ठीक है? Okay. And so these branches have largely come into the forefront. Research became more transdisciplinary. Now to summarize. We have seen period of up to 1990. I hope I am audible. 1990. We have seen the changes. Started from 1830 CE, where the world is engaged to, world of archaeology engaged to establish chronology, cultural sequence with the help of material science. First stage. Second stage, when we come up in the picture, we try to use these artifacts, material culture,
We are now starting with the question and answer session. Does anyone have any questions?
मैम, मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि आपने जितने ये सारे मतलब नाम बताए ना, तो सारे फॉरेनर है, तो क्या इंडिया के लोग मतलब आर्कियोलॉजी में इतने डेवलप उतना उन्होंने अपना पार्ट दिया नहीं, या हमारे पास ऐसी कुछ क्या कमी रही है जो जिसकी वजह से आज इतने सारे हमें फॉरेनर ही देखने को मिल रहे हैं, कोई इंडियंस वगैरह नहीं दिख रहे? क्योंकि हम जब हमारा पास्ट देखते हैं तो अब आज भले इकोनॉमी देख लो या कुछ भी देख लो, अगर हम आज कोई ट्रेड का पैटर्न वगैरह नाम देखते हैं तो हम एंशियंट में इंडस सिविलाइजेशन में देखते हैं तो वहाँ पे एनिमल्स, पीपल के ट्रीज, वो जो साइंस वगैरह दिखते हैं, तो फिर हमारे इंडियंस क्यों पीछे रह रहे इतना?
2 सेट में आंसर करूँगी। पहला है कि लेक्चर था पैराडाइम शिफ्ट का, तो जितनी भी आर्कियोलॉजी आज हम पढ़ रहे हैं ये सारी वेस्ट ने दी हुई है। आर्कियोलॉजी जितनी दी है वो वेस्ट ने दी है। हमारी आर्कियोलॉजी जो है वो वेस्ट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड है, तो जब तक हम वेस्ट नहीं समझेंगे हम अपने आप को नहीं समझ सकते। ये पहला बात। दूसरी बात, एक दिन ऐसा करेंगे इंडियन आर्कियोलॉजी पे लेक्चर लेते हैं, हमने अपने मटीरियल कल्चर को कैसे देखा, हाउ वी अंडरस्टूड, उसके लिए एक अलग से लेक्चर लेते हैं। तो हम शुरू करेंगे एथनोग्राफी से, ठीक है, जिसमें दुबे जी है, रे जी है, घुर्रे जी है, करवे जी है, संकालिया जी है। बट ये सारे जो थे, संकालिया जी खुद इंग्लैंड में ट्रेंड होकर आए थे, वो भी इन्फ्लुएंस थे। बट जब यहाँ आए, यहाँ पर इन्होंने देखा तो वो कैसे कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए एक अलग इंडियन आर्कियोलॉजी के लिए। ऐसा नहीं थी हमारा कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है, हमारा मैसिव कंट्रीब्यूशन है। शायद जितना हमने दिया है उतना उन्होंने भी नहीं, पर किसी को क्रिटिसाइज करना होता ना तो पहले खुद को समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है, राइट? उनको समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है। हाँ, हमने काफ़ी कंट्रीब्यूशन किया है। आई विल स्टार्ट नेमिंग सम ऑफ द पीपल हियर। अगर इंडियन आर्कियोलॉजी समझनी है तो वी हैव टू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एशियाटिक सोसाइटी, how we started documentation process, how Indian scholars started archaeology with nationalist perspective, how the Indian subalterns work for it, ठीक है? If you study Romila Thapar, R.S. Sharma, so whatever theories we have in history are dominated by archaeological material culture, ठीक है? But there we require a separate lecture to understand it, because in 1 hour I cannot collect everybody and put them, then it will be a jargon, which I don't want. I want to make it simple. But yes, your question was pretty right, and every single archaeologist has contributed. Deccan College itself are nearly about 75 years rigorously working to contribute in Indian archaeology. वीना मिश्रा जी बैठे हैं, उनके जो गाइड रहे हैं वालिम्बे जी, उन्होंने जितना काम किया है इंडियन आर्कियोलॉजी में, स्पेशली फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, हैज़ नॉट डन बाय एनीबडी, ठीक है? We have a theory of origin of rice where we have started. India is still fighting for the case, and that's because of the archaeology, ठीक है? अगर हम नहीं होते तो नहीं होता, तो है we have contributed, but for that every single contribution we require a separate lecture. That's what I believe. Art and architecture, Kumar Swamy, if I'm not wrong, post-processual lecture, post-processual जो theories है, that's derived in abroad, we are studying in India, but the initial scholar was Kumar Swamy. If he wouldn't have written a book, we couldn't understand it. So yes, there are these theories. Yeah, I think I might have answered your question. Yeah, I named few of the Indian scholars too.
Hello, ma'am. My question is regarding in the current times when archaeological excavations are happening. So my question is regarding how much importance is actually being given to the study of numismatics and interpreting the whatever archaeological evidences we find in the field of numismatics, and maybe be the icons or whatever images we find on the coins and such related work. How much importance is actually being given to numismatics in the current times when it comes to archaeology?
Dr. Abhijit Dandekar will be a very right person to answer this, because he is the epigraphist numismatics. and he worked very hard on it. But from perspective of in general archaeology, our forte as an archaeologist, when we excavate or explore site, our very first motto to document everything we recover. Okay, to recover. So first stage of a documentation is done by every archaeologist. Now the second stage, for the stage of explanation and interpretation, that's depend upon the scholars. Unfortunately, India is struggling with the less number of epigraphists and numismatics. That's the very unfortunate case. I hope you youngsters may take more interest and can give a justice to this field. So for part of explanation and interpretation, I believe the numismatics and epigraphies is in your hand. From the perspective of documentation, yes, archaeologists are giving equal importance to these records.
Ma'am, you can hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
certainly.
Okay, so I had a question that what are the future benefits and the scope to study the archaeology, and what kind of, it can give me the benefits in the future? What's the scope?
Okay. What's a career guidance sale? Okay, anyways, I'll try to answer. I've actually ended my lecture with sustainable development. In a very layman's language, culture received enormous funds in today's time. Culture, the word culture has enormous funds, just not from India, but all over from the world, enormous funds. You have to derive your interest into it, develop your interest, find out your own field, then there is a field. But culture, the word culture, has fund from everywhere. I hope questions are over now. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. Now I request Ragini Tade to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Siddhi. On behalf of Institute of Oriental Studies, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Nisha Sawant Madam for sharing their insights and expertise with us today. I thank Dr. Vijay Bedekar sir for his constant support and guidance. I thank Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathi Madam and Dr. Shivendra Kadgaonkar sir for their gracious presence. I would also like to thank dignitaries of Vidya Prasarak Mandal present and the esteemed citizens of the city. I thank Principal Dr. Suchitra Naik ma'am for her encouragement. I would also like to express our sincere gratitude to all three vice principals of the college. I would also like to express our gratitude to our attentive audience. Your presence and participation have enriched this program and made this event a success. Special thanks to Professor Ankur Kane sir and all the volunteers who contributed to the success of the program. I thank BRIMS for their cooperation and support for making available this auditorium. Special thanks to server room team and Professor Swapnil Maekar sir for all the arrangements. Thank you to our today's anchor Siddhi Pawar for taking us through the program. And lastly, a big thank you to everyone who attended and contributed to this positive atmosphere of learning. Thank you once again. Thank you.